I am joining you from cottage country. I am here up north. I'm so happy to be here for my lunch and learn, and I am so excited. Every week I come here, usually from the city, but today I'm here to help you elevate your mindset, truly be at your best, and radically expand your life and business, especially as we enter the new year. And today I am talking to you about a topic that is so important to you as you enter the new year, because it's really about your consistency, mastering your commitment to your consistency so you can have ultimate freedom in your life and in your business. So, this is a hot topic, especially as we are entering as we are stepping into this new year. So if you are ready to achieve your dreams faster than ever before, if you're ready to set the tone for ultimate success and ultimate freedom for yourself and others, and you're actually ready to see yourself soar right into the new year, today is for you. Now, I know some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm Larissa McCook. I'm a master results coach and CEO of Abundance Academy, where we help entrepreneurs and educators, managers, coaches, consultants, professionals who have external results that tell the world they're successful, but on the inside, they know they're destined for more, right? We help you raise your hand and go after your dreams with the courage, confidence, and conviction that you've never had before. Because it's my personal belief and that of my clients that you should love yourself, love your business, and love your life. And that is exactly what we do at Abundance Academy, help you do that. So I want to know where you're coming in from. If you are tuning in by replay, type in replay in the chat. And if it is your first time here, type in first time in the chat so my team and I can welcome you. So I do thank you. I do thank you for your presence and for being here. I really, truly do appreciate you. I see we've got Alan in the house. So yes, thank you for the comments. My videos are awesome food for thought. So thank you so much for that compliment. I really do appreciate it. So I just want to start with a little story or a couple of stories because this topic, this idea of commitment to consistency and ultimate freedom, this happened to me by default. A lot of things have happened to me and fallen in my lap. And then when I look back, I really can start seeing the links. One of my favorite quotes is by Steve Jobs. And he says, you can connect the dots looking forwards, but not necessarily connect the dots looking backwards, but not looking forwards. And sometimes we try to do that. We try to predict the future or predict the outcome for the future. And I remember I was in a business mastermind program with Kelly Roach, with one of my mentors, and she's phenomenal. And she suggested we started doing a weekly show. Okay. And I had no idea. A lot of people had podcasts, wasn't ready for that. We're going to have one starting next year. However, I decided to start this lunch and learn. I had no idea exactly what it was all about, but I knew it would turn into something wonderful. And at first I did it simply to be coachable. And then I just kept doing it and I kept doing it and kept doing it. And some weeks I so really knew exactly what it was for. And other weeks I would go, okay, how is this fitting in? And I'd have to recalibrate. And as I was going along, the dots started to connect. And right now we are on our 106th episode. Okay. So we've done this for the better half of a couple of years, and we've gone live every single week for 106 weeks. This is truly phenomenal for me because I had no idea. I actually went and counted all of our episodes. And what this really shows me is consistency is absolutely key. I knew that if I hadn't had this show in my calendar, if I hadn't had this commitment to myself and to you and to viewers, and to those of you that ask for topics, to those of you that are looking for advice and for feedback and sending your comments into us, I wouldn't be showing up every week. It's easy to just say, oh, I'm tired, not really in the mood to show up. There was something bigger that was driving me. And I had this external source that kept me going and kept me fueled forward as I built this beautiful opportunity, we now have a database of so many incredible resources that we can hand people when they're having a challenge. Chances are there is something I've talked about that can give them the answers. And so I feel so honored and blessed to be able to have this database and this resource available for you guys. And it's public. It's right on my YouTube channel. So just check out the YouTube page. We have so much on there. Now, when it really comes to this idea of commitment, this is also something else I really want to touch on, because I remember I've looked at this relationship with commitment, and while part of me was a committed person, another part of me questioned, I'm like, am I actually committed? Like, what am I truly, truly committed to? And there was a defining moment where I was at my wedding. Okay, so I've gotten married twice. First one didn't work out, but second time I was married. I was getting married to my husband. We were in Europe, and we were getting married in this beautiful, beautiful 200-year-old church in the Carpathian Mountains. And it was just so magical and so majestical and so incredibly special. And we got married by a priest that was tall. He had these handlebar mustaches. He was so serious. He was so intense. His voice was just booming and passionate. And I knew he meant business. Yet he had this spark, this lightness, and this kind-hearted spirit about him. So when we were talking, I don't even think it was our vows. We were kneeling. I remember we're kneeling and we're looking up at him, and he's standing over us and we're looking. I remember there was a moment where he was talking to us about commitment, and he was really asking us if we were committed to one another. And in that moment, more than ever before in my entire life, I really, truly stood and felt what commitment was, because this was something we had to take seriously. It wasn't that we didn't take it seriously before, but in that moment, it was something so much more profound, so much more bigger than just me, than just us. It was something even bigger. It was a beautiful metaphor for life. And it started carrying me forward. And I often think back, whenever I think about commitment, I often think back to that day, because you can be serious, you can be focused, you can be absolutely committed. However, you can do it with heart, you can do it with kindness, you can do it with passion and compassion, just like the energy of that priest. And so prior to that, commitment was always this thing I felt I had to do. It had this hold on me. And after that, it became such a joyful experience. And it really, truly did become empowering, because it put me in the driver's seat of my own life. And now when I look at some of the most successful people in the world, I truly see how they are committed to themselves, how they are committed to their families, they're committed to their clients in ways I had never recognized before. And it truly is one of the keys to freedom, right? Commitment is one of the keys to freedom. So why am I sharing this with you? Well, we're entering the new year. I want you to soar so high. I want you to soar high with the eagles instead of staying stuck in anything that is keeping you held hostage, because those eagles spread their wings and fly high. And that is exactly what you can do as you step into this beautiful new year. So I'm asking you, are you ready to achieve your dreams faster than ever before? And let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. Can you imagine setting the tone for success and ultimate freedom for you and for those that you encounter along the way? What does freedom mean for you? What does success mean to you? Share that with me. And if one simple thing could make all the difference between your sinking or soaring into the new year, are you willing to take a look at it? Is that something you're willing to take a serious look at? Okay, so that's what today is all about. That's what we're talking about today, how you can master your commitment to consistency for ultimate freedom. Now, when it comes to commitment, right? What does commitment truly mean? Commitment is this state of quality or being dedicated to a cause. It's the act of binding yourself either intellectually or emotionally. Okay. You're binding yourself, you're fusing with something, you're connecting to something, to a specific course of action. You're saying, I've decided I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it no matter what. There's this sense of dedication that's involved. And behind that, there's a sense of purpose, a sense of drive. Often with commitments, they start from the inside out, but there is something bigger and more meaningful that you're aspiring to. Now, consistency, this is really about conformity in the application of something, right? Something that might be necessary for the sake of logic, accuracy, or fairness. It's the state or condition of always happening or behaving in the same way. So there are standards that are really connected to consistency. When you have the standard of consistency, people start to know what to expect of you. People can start, this is where you create the expectations that others can have of you and what you're willing to do for others. This is absolutely huge. And when it comes to freedom, freedom is the ultimate. This is the ultimate expansiveness and expressiveness because you get to truly be, do, and have whatever you want. It's all about choice. When you have freedom, you have the ability to choose. And sometimes we may feel like we have freedom or we may want freedom, but we aren't in that place of actually making that conscious choice. Okay. Okay. Success means reaching more people to make a bigger difference. Love it. My answers to these questions are complex in a sort of flux, but I appreciate the stream. Okay. My challenge to you is to keep the answers to these questions as simple as possible because I was actually meeting with some consultants to simplify and streamline something in my business. And there was something really complicated we were talking about. And they asked me, do you want to have a complicated business or a simple business? Now, when we have complicated things around us, that adds clutter, that adds confusion. When you are not able to articulate yourself clearly, there is this extra layer of not being able to really just easily express yourself. And order is heaven's first law. Okay, read Thomas Troward. Order is heaven's first law. When there is order in your mind, there is order in your life. And when you can communicate your message clearly and succinctly, even complicated things, that is truly when magic will happen. One of the beautiful things with my mentor, Bob Proctor, he used to say, he used to take these very complicated concepts and bring them down and boil them down into the most simple stories so anyone could understand. He'd tell stories, he'd use metaphors, and made complicated subjects really accessible to the masses. The more simple you make things, the more money you will make. The more simple you make things, the more impact you can make. So I want you to really think about what is your definition of freedom? What is your definition of success? And there may be many aspects to it, but when it boils down to it, what does that really mean for you? So here's the thing. There's one man that really kept things simple. Henry Ford, in many regards. There was a time where he was actually going to court because there was a lawsuit happening and he was deemed to be ignorant, and the opposing team wanted to prove that he was an ignorant man. And so what they did is they started asking him all these historical questions and facts and figures and questions that most people in the audience couldn't answer, and even the judge himself couldn't answer. And Henry Ford was an incredibly intelligent man. However, he didn't have a formal education, so to speak. And he also knew what he was committed to. He knew where he stood. He knew where his strengths were. He was not committed to knowing all sorts of useless facts and figures. He was committed to finding the right people to answer the questions he had and he needed. He knew where he was strong, and he knew he was excellent at finding experts in his field and inviting them to work with him so he could fulfill his mission, so he could build and improve his automobiles and distribute them all across America. So he was absolutely committed to himself and to his cause. And in a sense, he went from being someone that didn't have that sense of freedom to having ultimate freedom because he consistently planted those seeds and took himself and fueled himself forward. So here's what you need to know. Okay, here's what you need to know when it comes to consistency and when it comes to really mastering your commitment to that consistency so you can have the freedom you desire. Okay, the most committed, the most successful people in the world are absolutely committed and disciplined. They're not just committed and disciplined and consistent with big stuff, they're consistent and committed to the little stuff too. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. Now, this isn't about perfection. However, it's really about doing certain things in a certain way. So, one of my colleagues, Catherine, and I wrote about her in a book. She is absolutely committed to being super disciplined with her thoughts. And she's also very committed to connecting with her community. She connects with her community 1 to 3 times a day. She is not disciplined and not committed to things like her wake up time, where she works, when she works. She has a lot of flow in her business and she does it her way. However, she is very clear on what she is committed to and she sticks to it. She runs a 7-figure business without being on social media. Not common for most people. And so when you're truly committed, when you have this level of commitment to yourself, you actually start to perceive yourself as happier. Now, you've got to love yourself first. You've got to have that sense of inner confidence and self-love before you can be committed to others. Okay, so that commitment must come to yourself first before it can come to others. And so often, a lot of times, it's easier to make commitments to other people or to other circumstances or to other things. However, if you don't put your own gas mask on first, you can't help another person when the airplane goes down, right? You need to fuel yourself before fueling others. Nobody wants a tired, distracted, really stressed out mom hanging around. They want someone that is fueling herself so that she can actually show up and shine and be there for her family, be there for her community, for those that she works with, for those that she spends time with. And so you will be perceived as happier. And it really does start with you addressing your inner self before you can make those commitments to others. When you're committed, you also have a clear, well-defined sense of what's important to you and what you truly believe in, right? Back to that clarity, back to that really being able to articulate your message, your purpose, and what you are working on clearly because you know where you're going, you know where you are, you know where you're going, you create a map to get there. And you're truly concerned with the good of the environment and the world around you. You have this harmonious coexistence with the world around you, which is a recipe for success. So again, how you do anything is how you do everything. Commitment breeds discipline, which is essential for achieving anything in life. Napoleon Hill, author of Think and Grow Rich, he wrote an entire chapter about this called persistence. It's the persistence chapter. And Les Brown, there's a quote that he says, and he says, wants show up in your words, expectations show up in your actions. Okay, so saying I love you and I do, going back to the wedding analogy, it really isn't enough. That's not commitment. It's a nice thing to say. It's a nice thing to feel. It's a nice thing to hear. However, when you look at it, it must be backed by action because action is what demonstrates that commitment to any decision you make. Action is what demonstrates that commitment to any decision you make. Now, when you are fully committed, your willingness to commit to anything that you're committed to is actually a reflection of your own self-worth. If you're willing to commit to big, beautiful, harmonious, juicy goals, that's a reflection that you feel highly worthy of yourself. If you are not willing to commit to making the world a better place, to making your world a better place, to showing up as your absolute best, it's also a reflection of your own self-worth. And sometimes, like I said, it's easier to commit to others instead of yourself, but you've really got to put yourself first. You've got to put your own oxygen mask on. when you do commit to others, it's important that you keep that commitment. It's important to make promises and keep them. And you also don't make promises that you're not willing to keep. Okay? You don't want to just be breathing air. You want to be truly making promises that you are willing to keep, not just paying lip service to people. Now, you don't have to be consistent with everything. Okay, you've got to decide what you're going to be consistent with and where you're going to give yourself wiggle room. And I think that's something that's really key, because if you are consistent with absolutely everything, you stifle the opportunity to be creative. You could have a lot of structure, and I like to think of this as containers. Like even the calendar, you might have time blocks on your calendar, and that is structure. But what you do within those time blocks can allow for creativity, it can allow for self-expression, it can allow for that ability to play. However, you need to know what your commitments are and what you're willing to bend on and what you're not willing to bend on. And that's really an issue of boundaries, which is a whole other subject. Okay. Now, how do you become committed? Okay. How do you actually become committed? This seems simple. How do you stay committed to yourself? How do you stay committed to being consistent? Okay? Because just being inconsistent and willy-nilly with things, that is building a muscle. It's like you going to the gym once and then expecting to stay fit for the rest of the year. You can't just go to the gym and have one workout and then think you're going to be in shape for the rest of the year. You have to do that consistently. You have to build that consistent muscle. And you've got to be absolutely committed to certain disciplines that you're doing. You've got to be committed to being consistent with certain things. And when you do, that will unlock your key to freedom. So first and foremost, you've got to decide. You've got to decide what you're committed to and what you're going to be consistent with. You've got to make the decision to be committed, and you've got to decide what you're going to be consistent with. So decide. It's simple. However, when you avoid making that decision, it's really convenient, right? It's easy to not uphold that. It's easy to break the cycle. However, when you start that commitment cycle, when you start that consistency cycle, this is an analogy I like to use, right? You put one hand in front of the other, and then it just starts building momentum. You build momentum, you build momentum, you build momentum, and then it keeps going and goes faster, 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 faster. However, when you stop, it's a little awkward. And if you go one and then two, there's a lag time, and you don't want to stop yourself. You really, truly do want to let the momentum build, because it actually gets easier and easier and easier. So you've got to stick to what you are committed to. You've got to stick to those elements that you're being consistent with. Step two, you really want to define what that commitment is. And you've got to define how you're willing to be consistent, right? So what does commitment and consistency look like, sound like, feel like for you? Is it keeping promises to others and keeping your word? Is it not making excuses when it gets hard and acting in spite of fear? Acting even if it gets difficult, even if you're sick, even if you're not in the mood to keep going forward? Is it doing what's right and not rationalizing things? Is it doing what's less convenient because you know you're dedicated to a greater cause, right? Temporary discomfort is not bad when there's something more important on the other side of the rainbow. Is it always being there and showing up? Is it never giving up? Is it anticipating needs for yourself and others? Is it going the extra mile? What are you going to be committed to? Now, when it really comes to you being committed, right? Maybe you're going to be committed to your business. Maybe you're going to be committed to achieving your goals like you never have before. Maybe you're going to be committed to your family. What specifically are you committed to? And this is where you can start really looking at what the bigger picture is, right? When you're really clear on that bigger picture and what you are committed to, then you can start developing habits to become consistent with them. Okay. This is where you find one thing, maybe two, but I'm going to say one thing that can really make a difference to your end result. And when you decide what you want to be committed to in the big scheme of things, you find that one smaller thing that's going to move the needle forward. And you begin doing that consistently over and over and over again. You begin showing up with that certain attitude over and over and over again. You begin doing certain actions. You start some really great examples of things that our clients have been committed to that move their needle forward, that they've built the consistency muscle with. It was my morning calls, right? So back in April, great story. Back in April, I decided to start morning calls every single day with my clients. We meet at 6:30 a.m. for 45 minutes to study because I noticed I was really good at studying. I like studying. It was fun. This fuels me. It made a massive difference in my life when I did it consistently. When I was on and off, I was on and off with everything else in my life. But as soon as I started being more consistent, everything changed for me in all facets of my life. Now, when I started holding these calls, it gave them an ability to plug into something every day, and it started helping them make rapid changes. So, one example of being consistent to one thing that makes a huge difference is a morning routine. Okay, a really intelligently designed morning routine. And one of the effects, right, the cause was me showing up to do these calls, me showing up to study myself. And for us as a business, the effect of doing that consistently, I had to show up consistently for others, not just myself in this case, is right now our Q4 has nearly exceeded our Q2 and 3 revenues combined. And I'm like, okay, that this is awesome. And so that I can in my heart say that was a direct result of consistency, of being committed to certain actions, just like our morning calls. There were other things I started being committed with after I started that consistent commitment. There were maybe if you're in a business where you are in sales of some sort, is contacting or prospecting or asking for the sale. Maybe it's having a great attitude, reviewing your goals and intentions every single day and reconnecting to yourself. Perhaps it's saying thank you or calling people by name and remembering names. Perhaps it's giving credit to others. Perhaps it's asking for and acting on feedback immediately. It's a great habit to be in. Perhaps it's focusing on the finishing, completing projects, or at least whatever part or segment you're working on in that time frame. Maybe it's closing open loops, all of those energy leaks that you have in your world. Maybe it's tracking your money. You can choose to be consistent with anything. And you want to make sure that that thing that you're being consistent with is going to support your bigger picture. It might be directly, it might be indirectly. However, it's got to make a difference to your bottom line. And you've got to pick one thing. Don't do all of these things. You can do all of them over time. However, pick one thing and be willing to be flexible with everything else. However, if the consistency happens in other areas, that's okay too. Next, you've got to step one is decide. Step two is really define what that is. Step three is be committed to one thing. Make that commitment to be committed to one thing and do that one thing consistently. Don't do everything. You've also got to study and practice consistency and commitment and whatever it is that you're focusing on, because what you focus on expands. And when you start to really understand how it looks like in your life in all aspects, that's when you're going to move forward. You've also got to keep going if you make a mistake, because chances are you will fall off the wagon. And if you fall off the wagon, no judgment, just get back up. Set your environment up to succeed. Maybe you need reminders on your phone. Write notes to yourself on the mirror. Set some alarms. Set your desk up for the next segment, for whatever it is that you need to be successful with. Have a certain structure for that. Spend time with certain people. join an accountability group or find an accountability partner. Set your environment up so you have to succeed and there is no chance of failure. And I know there's some clients that are actually asking for this topic. So if you're listening, you know who you are. Set your environment up so you have to succeed, so your success is guaranteed and inevitable. Okay? This is absolutely key. Okay? So those are just some tips and some considerations when it comes to um, taking this idea of mastering your commitment to consistency so you can have ultimate freedom, because you really truly can be, do, or have anything you want, anything your heart desires. It's simple. It's not easy. All you have to do is decide, define, do one thing at a time until you nail it, study it, practice it, really get to know it inside out. Keep going and set your environment up so you succeed, so your success is guaranteed. Now, we've covered a lot today. Ultimately, it boils down to you deciding that you want a rich and fulfilling life and you being willing to go for it and claim it. So, I've given you some really incredible and simple tools that you can use to boost your consistency, to increase your commitment to yourself and others so you can have the ultimate freedom as you step into the new year. This is not the thing that you wait and decide on as you like after the new year starts. Start it now. Don't wait. Take action now. And that really is what sets you up for success. This is why we study and we implement everything in our Abundance Accelerator program. And we are willing to learn so we can experience these massive, massive shifts. Now, if you want to make a commitment to yourself, if you want to learn what consistency really is about, okay, I would love to extend an invitation to you to our upcoming Unstoppable You workshop. This is an incredible, incredible workshop. It's one of my favorites. And it's a Dream Creator and Abundance Accelerator workshop where you get to step into your absolute best self as you kick off the new year. Now, why this is so important and why this is such a great opportunity for you to build your consistency and commitment to yourself is this workshop is 5 days. You get to put into yourself, you get to plant some great seeds, you get to pluck some weeds, and you get to plant some seeds for 5 days in a row and really learn what my clients are doing in their morning calls, right? This is, you get to be in that kind of energy and that kind of environment of camaraderie, of expansion, and of you investing in yourself for 5 solid days in a row. We're meeting for 1 hour a day at 12 p.m. Eastern time from January 16th to January 20th. And I'm sure we'll have more in the future. Just don't know when at this point. So this really is a masterful, masterful workshop and truly life-changing experience because you get to learn and really uncover what's most important to you as you step into this new year. You get to show up as the best, most incredible version of you each and every day. You get world-class professional guidance in a community of like-minded people, and you get to walk away with your vision of yourself, of your life in hand, and some tools and resources to overcome any limiting beliefs and limitations for what might be stopping you. So we don't want to be held, in the procrastination trap. So we're going to give you some really simple and clear ways to overcome anything holding you back. So I am going to pop registration links in the description of our video. I would absolutely love to see you there. I would love to extend that invitation to you and have you join us for Unstoppable You so you can truly be unstoppable in your 2023. With that, we are going to wrap. I am going to go have fun at the cottage because we've had a great time here and we are just enjoying our holiday season. So I am sending you much love as you spend the rest of your holidays doing whatever it is that you're doing. Be bright, shine, show up in your life, show up in your business, show up for your family, and join me in our Unstoppable You workshop. It is happening really, really soon. And I promise you, it will absolutely change your life. So get yourself registered.